Hello everyone, this is Janet Garcia with Inspiring Radiance. Today is episode 2 of the Truth Behind the Pain series. I have two fabulous guests here that I will introduce shortly. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what the pain behind the truth. Oh, I just messed myself up. Excuse me. So I just want to talk about a little bit about what the series is all about. So this series is to bring more awareness for mental health and mental illness. We know that the more that we talk about it, we break the stigma, we break the silence, because silence hurts us all. And so I'm going to introduce our two fabulous guests. We're going to be talking today about adolescent mental health. We're going to be having a real open conversation about what it is to be a young lady in today's world. And so I'm going to introduce my two fabulous guests. I have my daughter here, Maria, and I thought she would be a great person to join the conversation because she actually is in the IB program at our local high school, and basically that program is the most rigorous academic program that exists in the county, and so there's a lot of stressors that go along with being a part of that. And then I want to introduce my other fabulous guest, Crystal. So we're going to just be having a really open conversation to be able to talk about different struggles that adolescents face in today's world. And the reality is that we have to talk about it. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in adolescence. And for me, that number is completely unacceptable. It is something that can be prevented. And as a parent, I think a lot of times we don't realize what even our own kids are going through until sometimes it's too late. And so that is what this conversation is all about. This conversation is to really bring more awareness to that, to really bring, to be able to understand our kids better. So when we understand better, I think that we can prevent things a little better. So I'm going to have each one of my fabulous guests talk about themselves, like a little bit about their family environment, who is in their family, who they live with, and then maybe share a little bit about their day-to-day stressors on specifically when they're in the school year. Because in the summer, of course, it's a little more relaxed, but like during the school year, like what things that you guys typically have to do, share hours. Well, let's start a little bit at a time. So maybe introduce a little bit about who you live with, what your family environment is like, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I live with, of course, my mom and my dad and also my brother, and I feel like our family life, we're all pretty close, but we kind of just do we all do our own thing, it's not like we could be more close-knit, but it's not like, I don't know how to explain it.
A bad thing, maybe allowing,
yeah.
One of the things that I think, and again, I want it to be from your perspective, but one of the things I think is that we like to be together, but we also value our own individual. We all have kind of different interests, and so we all try to kind of do that and support each other in those individual interests. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I live with, right now, my mom, because my dad is away up north working, but he visits as much as he can, like he's visiting right now. But I live with her and my two brothers, my older brother, my younger brother, and my grandparents, like my mom's parents. And I think we're close. As close, yeah, I think we're close. But, everyone, especially Michael, he likes to do his own thing. And my mom works a lot as well. So it's, usually my grandma and me and my grandpa. And, he used to work, but, now he's not. And I think we're fine, but we all have issues. So, our family, we have a close family with our immediate, not only our immediate family, but our extended ones too. So we like to have them over a lot. So I guess we're close. But yeah.
Okay. So thank you. I love that you said that we all have issues, because that's the reality. That's one of the things that I think that mainly I want to bring into awareness, is that everybody is going through something. Mental health is something that a lot of people don't really understand what it is. Every single person on this earth struggles with mental health at some point in their lives. And that could be, maybe you have, you're going into high school. For you guys, maybe going into high school was probably a big stressor because it's a big change. It could be any, a number of different things. And so we all kind of go through that. And so I like that you brought that up, that, We all go through something, because that's the truth. So we're gonna do this kind of like an interview style, but if there's anything that like you guys want to jump in and just share about, or that you think that you really want to share, I ask that just be as honest as possible. I asked my daughter. I told her that be open and honest, and even if it's something that maybe doesn't make me look good, I want her to be open and honest about that, because that's what this conversation is about, is to be able to bring the true awareness behind mental health, and especially what young ladies have to go through in today's world. So maybe if each one of you talks a little bit about what your school year, like what it looks like, a typical day in your life looks like the stressors of like the IB program and everything else that's associated with that.
Okay, so I feel like a typical day for me is I get to school and I take the bus, so that's not like really the best environment because it's just like really loud and like, I don't know, I don't like it. But and then when I get to school, it's nicer because we have time in the morning that you can like either do your homework or just like hang with friends. So I feel like that's what I usually do, me and her, whatever. And it just kind of like relaxes you before the day starts, so you don't feel like, oh, school again, that kind of type thing. And then you go to class, and I feel like in the IB program, there is a little bit more of like, not so much just, writing or doing schoolwork and all that kind of stuff. There is more of a conversation in class usually because they like us to speak up and everything. So I feel like in that sense, it is a little better than what normal class might look like. And then there is a lot of work though, like they kind of expect you to do more than a normal kid would. So I think that's the one thing that is like pretty hard because like you have more work to do usually in a shorter deadline. So it just kind of gets like really stressful sometimes, especially during like exam times or like during like any kind of breaks or anything, because they kind of try to fit everything in before you get your break. But then we do get like an okay amount of lunch time. I feel like it could be a little longer because the lines are always like super, super long. So by the time you get your food and you get to eat and like talk to your friends and relax and everything, it doesn't really amount to that much time. And then when you go back to class again, it's pretty much the same thing, the schoolwork, the conversations in class and everything. And then when I get home, that's probably like, it's difficult mainly because like you want to tell yourself, oh, I'm just going to take 30 minutes to relax, and then that turns into an hour, and that turns into more time. And by the time you actually start doing your schoolwork, since it is, the IB program or whatever, like there's so much work usually. And I'm a person that I usually procrastinate a lot, which isn't great. So, like that work really adds up. And so I'm usually there like for a couple hours every single day trying to do my work. And then I stay after school a lot for different programs. In the beginning, I stayed for Key Club. And, on Fridays, I stayed for 3D Club or whatever. And then this year, I got into the theater program. And we were doing plays and everything. And with the plays, we stay super late. Like, we stay till 5:30 every night. And then as it gets closer to the show dates, you have to stay longer. You have to work harder and everything. So that doesn't leave as much time to do like schoolwork, and I think that's when it really like adds up for me. Like I feel like I just don't have a moment to breathe kind of type thing, and I'm just like working a lot. I'm trying to do my best at every single thing, kind of stretching myself thin, and so I think that's when it gets like really stressful. And yeah,
So what do you typically do to de-stress? Like what do you think has been the most effective thing for you to de-stress when you are in that stress-filled environment?
I just like to take time for myself, like I'll go into my room and I'll just like do things that make me happy. Like I'll read or I'll watch, go on YouTube and like watch my favorite videos and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like things like that that make me feel less stress and just taking that time for myself.
I love you said that. I remember we used to talk about, taking the 15 minutes to kind of self-care. Do you remember that? Yeah. And one of the things that I remember, we would come home and we would be rushed. And let's say that day we just didn't happen to have a lot of things, and I was trying to get dinner ready. And I remember like saying, Maria, come help. And you would say, I still have 10 more minutes. Or I still have 5 more minutes. And so I love that, because that's one of the things that I hope to have instilled in you to be able to, that you are so worthy to be able to take time for you, no matter what's going on in the environment. So I really like that you do. So Crystal, tell us a little bit about your stress level on a normal day when you're in school.
Well, Mariah and I are both in the IB program, so our schedules are pretty similar. I take the bus as well, which is, at the beginning of the year, it was a whole situation in and of itself, because the buses, like, there wasn't enough space on the buses to carry the amount of kids in my area, so we only had one bus in the beginning of the school year. So, like, I remember the first day of school, that was really stressful, because, like, some kids were, like, sitting on the floor of the bus because we didn't have enough space. And so that was a big stressor. And then, like, when they finally did get our own bus, like another one, there were some kids in the bus that were, like, they were seniors, and they weren't, like, the nicest or, like, most respectful. And, like, it was, like, after a long day, especially when I was coming home, they would just be so loud, and I would just be like, can you please, like, not be as loud, because I'm trying to sleep. And, like, they would just be rude. So, like, that was a mess. But when, like, I would get to school, I would do the same thing. And I would just usually hang out with my friends, do my homework. And then I would go to class. And, like, class, it was fun, I guess. They, like, teach us to be world students, not only just, like, students in, like, Indietown and, like, Stewart. So, like, we would have a lot of conversations about, like, the world in general. So that was nice. And, like, lunch was really, like, it could have been better. Like, they only had, like 4 or 5 lines. And, like, there was so many kids, especially, like, on B lunch. And so, like, we had B lunch every other day. So, like, that was just, like, a lot. So there was, like, just lines and lines. You had to wait. It was really annoying. But, yeah. And then, like, I would do school and come home. And, like, depending on the day, what was due, that was stressful. Sometimes for biology, we would have packets, like, really thick packets. And one was called Mellow Yellow. One was called Grinch Green.
Brown.
There's another one called Bambi Brown. And, like, Grinch Green, it was, like, just a page full of probably, like, 20, 25-ish questions. And, like, we would have to answer each one, but the questions were, like, really long, and they would have, like, basically a part A, B, C, D to, like, Z. And, like, it just took forever. And so, especially when I, like, was doing the musical with Mariah, it was just a lot, because we would have to come home and then do it. And I remember, like, during, like, rehearsals, we would stress about it, and, like, we would try to, like, do it backstage during, like, the rehearsals. And, like, when we got home, I know I didn't go to sleep till, like, probably, like, 1. And it was just, like, a lot of work, and it was really stressful. But, like, as it got closer to the end of the year, I realized more and more that, like, I was just, like, going through the motions, and I wasn't, like, my happiest, because, like, I was just, like, over school. But, like, I mean, I'm fine. That's fine.
So what do you think helped you kind of manage that stress? Because the reason that, I thought it was so important to invite both of you on is that recently, in the past couple of years, the deaths by suicide that we've had with teenagers in this area have been really high achieving kids. It's been kids who have been either in the IB program or, like, at Clark Advanced Learning Center, or we had somebody else that was in the AP program. And, that just, typically I think when we look at, teenagers, we see the lonely, the depressed kid who is like the image of what we see of someone who would commit suicide. But then now we're looking on that other extreme where we have kids who are, so high achieving as parents, they're like the straight A students, they're the kids who, who do everything right, and I guess the model kid on the outside, but inside they're struggling with a lot of things that I think parents aren't realizing. And so, that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to invite both of you, because you both are those very high achieving kids, and, maybe talk a little bit about what your thoughts are, maybe what parents are missing. Is there something that parents don't realize how much stress you guys are under during that period of time? Because I hear both of you say there were times during the school year where it literally felt like you didn't have even a moment to breathe. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I feel like the reason for that is, like, when you're in school, like, at the beginning it's not as bad, but as the year progresses, you're just like you said, like, going through the motions. Like, it's like, I have to finish this by this time, I have to do this by this time, and like, it just gets so stressful where you feel like you have to put that before anything. Like, if I don't finish this, like, my grade is going to go down, or if I don't do this, and like, it's so much, and it just like piles up, and you feel like, you don't even realize it, but you start putting that schoolwork or the stuff that you have to finish before, like, yourself, like, going to sleep late because you have to finish, an assignment or something, or because you have to study for a quiz or something like that. And it just, like, it piles up, but then you also feel like you can't take a break, because if you take a break, you're either going to fall behind, or you're not going to do your greatest, or like, like, I remember some days where I was sick, or I didn't feel the best, and I was thinking, I can't take a day off, because if I do, then I'm going to fall behind, or I'm going to miss this quiz. I'm not, you have to make that stuff up, and it's really hard. So I feel like that's a lot of it.
Same with me. Like, there was a day when I woke up and I was not feeling great, but I still decided to go to school, especially for biology, because I did not want to miss it and fall behind. So I could have stayed home, but I didn't, because I didn't want to. Because I knew if I did, it wasn't gonna do. I wasn't gonna do well.
Yeah, it's gonna add more stress to you if you miss. So what do you think that maybe parents are missing? Like, is there something that your parents could be doing to help reduce the stress on you during that time? Because I think that's an important aspect for us to remember as parents, that, there's times that, we don't realize. I think we know what it was to go to high school, 20, 30, whatever, plus years ago. But we don't realize that. I think even myself as a parent, I'm going to throw myself under the bus. As a parent, sometimes I think that my stress level is higher than my daughter's stress level, or than my kid's stress level, and it's like, oh, it's just high school, like, it's no big deal. But in your eyes, it is a really big deal. And so I think, what do you guys think that your parents could be doing, or parents of other kids who are in the same boat as you guys could be doing to really help their kids not be so stressed out?
I feel like there's not a lot that parents can do, except maybe giving your kids space, because a lot of the times, when you come home and you're stressed, and then your parent is kind of just like, oh, you forgot to do this, you didn't take out the trash, you have to do your chores or stuff like that. It just adds so much more. And your home is supposed to be a space where you can go and you can relax, but when you come home and there's just so much more to do, it makes you feel even more stressed and just worse about it.
Yeah, and I feel like you can't really you can't say don't give them chores because they need to, because you're stressed too, and it has to be a balance. So it's kind of you're stuck, kind of. But I think it's just not thinking that they're gonna be they're perfectly fine, and don't take their stress lightly, because as long as you recognize it and say, okay, I understand you too, and this is how I'm feeling, I think that's the best thing to do.
I think that was an excellent point that you brought up, the communication. So I think that, as parents, we have to maybe get better at communicating with our kids, because unfortunately, and I'm going to ask you guys about this, so we'll talk a little bit more about that, but as a parent coming from, the digital age that you guys are in now, that, kids are on their, devices all the time, and, that is the way that they interact socially, that is the way that they, look up things. Kids are pretty much, on their devices. A lot of parents are too,
Mhm.
so it goes both ways. But I think what's happened is a communication. I mentioned this in the last episode. Sometimes we're all sitting in the living room. So it's me, my husband, my daughter, my son. We're all sitting in the living room, but everybody's on their devices. And so we're there, but we're really not connecting. We're not communicating and things like that. And so I think that you brought up a great point as far as the communication, being able to maybe the teenagers being able to communicate it. And I think that's hard because that's something that I think me and you, like when you're stressed out, I can usually tell because I'm trained to tell. But when I notice it and I try to reach out and say, like ask you, is everything okay? Like, could there be something that I do better? Because that doesn't seem to be as helpful as maybe something that you would suggest.
I feel like it's about finding that balance because especially, being the daughter of a mental health professional, you're more, it's like almost like there's two extremes, I feel like you're one of them, the one that always like try to reach out and always trying to talk to me and always trying to ask me questions. And sometimes like, even though it is helpful, sometimes it does feel a bit like smothering, like, it's always like, oh, are you okay? Do you need, kind of type thing. And it's just kind of like, no, I just want my time, I just want my space, kind of type thing. And I feel like there are some parents who are on the other side of that extreme that kind of just like don't really try to talk to their kids at all or like anything like that. So I feel like maybe that balance would be like letting your kid know that you are there and that you're available to talk to them, but at the same time not always trying to like make them talk to you. I think it's about that, like just letting them know that you're there if they ever need to talk about something, so that they can come to you. Because I feel like when you're always trying to like go out and make that, like have that conversation, like your kid's just not going to respond to it maybe. So I feel like it has to come from the kids sometimes, like just like, hey mom, can I talk about this? Or can we talk about something like that? I don't know.
Great point. So that's a great point, kind of opening the door and letting them know that, hey, no matter what, I'm here for you when you need to talk, and kind of giving them the space to be able to feel like they can come to you. What are you guys' thoughts about suicide, in teens? I know that a couple of years ago, it was probably before you guys got to the high school, but a couple of years ago, somebody, died by suicide at your local school, and you probably have heard others in the community. What do you guys think takes a teenager, or have you seen someone maybe that, you don't have to give any names, but have you seen someone that you feel has gotten to that point where they're so hopeless and that's kind of the only, they feel that's, the solution to it?
My parents, my dad's a physician and my mom's an RN, so like they don't do like mental health like you do, but like they still like know that it's like a thing and it's important. And like I've never seen anyone go to that point, but my brother has a friend and she was like at that point, and so like he brought her over to our house to talk to my mom and dad, and like she, when I overheard her talking because I came out of my room to like go get water, and I felt really, really bad because like she like just was so hopeless. And so like I don't know, I wasn't like paying attention enough to understand why, but like it's really sad.
And that true emotion, it's true. It breaks my heart every time I hear of another, not just a teenager, but someone else in the community, losing their life to suicide. And we hear a lot about it when it's a famous person or a celebrity, but we have someone in our community. There are millions on a daily basis that are struggling with mental illness and or mental health struggles. And so I think it touches each and every one of us, the reality. And so I just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on what maybe you think could possibly lead a teenager to feel like there's no other way out.
Well, so to follow up, her family life wasn't that the best, so I think that's what really set her off, because like her mom wasn't really there and her dad left her at a really young age, and it wasn't her mom who brought her, but a lady came with her, and I feel like that's her saving grace, because like she actually tried to help her, and I think that's why she didn't really commit suicide yet. because of her. So I feel like it's like when you don't have anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. Mm-hmm. You want to share on that?
I don't know. I feel like it is, a combination of a lot of different things when you don't have like anybody that you can talk to or anybody that you can look up to help you through those moments. And then I feel like as a community, we kind of, we don't talk about that kind of stuff. So people who are going through that, they don't, there's no traveled road, to help lead them through that, because everybody's just kind of really like hush hush about suicide. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to anything like that. So when you are going through something like that, and you don't know who to reach out to, you don't know what to do, you don't know if the things you're feeling are normal, because nobody ever talks about it, And then on top of that, like, the stress of like, school or work or just, life in general can sometimes like almost like keep pushing that person towards the edge, just because they don't have anything that brings them hope or, happiness or anything, and nobody to help lead them like out of that.
Definitely. I completely agree. We know that, it's not just one cause. There's a combination of different things that could be affecting, and, definitely family life plays a big factor. If, the person has ever been through anything, any traumatic experience in their past, if there is someone who is struggling with their gender, or their sexuality, that can be, they can be more at risk to commit suicide. So there's so many factors. One of the things that I looked at, me and my daughter and my son actually watched, 13 Reasons Why when it came out, and there was a lot of talk about it, about on both sides of the spectrum. Some people happy that now there's something out there that brings awareness to this, and then the other spectrum is parents thought it was completely inappropriate for kids to be watching. And so my perspective on that was that my kids are probably going to watch it anyway. Why not watch it with them and have that dialogue? And so I think that we tried to have dialogue around it. And when we look at the main character, Hannah, there was so many things going on. It wasn't just that one thing. So, I'm glad that you kind of brought that up. That's a reality. There's so many different factors. And so if you have ever had someone, let's say, come to you and say, this is what I'm struggling with, how do you guys think you would handle it? Because I think that's one of the things that's really hard to know what to do if somebody ever came to you. And you can just, it's okay if you don't know. You can say you don't know.
I'd probably bring them to you, to be honest. I would try to see like where their head is at the moment, like see if they're like that far gone. And then, like, if they are, like, get them, like, some serious help. But if they're, like, still okay, I would, like, probably, like, try to be with them as much as possible and, like, tell them, like, hey, you're not alone. Mm-hmm. I'm here. Call me if you want. And, like, try to do that.
I don't really know. I feel like I would try to obviously, do the same thing and try to just like be as helpful as possible to that person, because you don't know what they're going through, and like just be there for them. And if they ever need to talk, just be like that shoulder. Mm-hmm. And if it is serious, of course, I have somebody that I can talk to, or somebody that can help that person. Like bring them over or something so you can talk to them. And like not a lot of people have that.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I want to give some suggestions as far as for anybody else who might be watching. And, I think being a teenager, the reality is that most kids who are going through that are more than likely to reach out to their friends versus to reach out to an adult, a teacher, a parent, anything like that. So definitely the first one that you guys mentioned was, like paying attention, really paying attention when somebody says that they, feel like life is hopeless, that, there's no more hope, or that, they feel like dying, or they feel like not existing anymore. It's really about, paying attention to them, and then after that, really getting the adult help, because as, sometimes you may not know how to handle the situation. So it's, reaching out for an adult. And I know this can be really tricky because you kind of don't want to, throw them under the bus or, you know, be the, I guess, the snitch or anything like that. But it could be a matter of life and death. And so sometimes even being the snitch is more important than, you know, maybe your friend's going to hate you, but they're going to be alive. You know, so that would be one of them. You know, remembering that, you know, you always put safety first. If you feel like they're they're at risk right now to really harm themselves, then 911 would be like the best bet. Really focusing on, you know, communicating to them that you really care. That, you know, you don't have to try to, oh, you know, you shouldn't feel that way, like dismiss their feelings, but really just communicating, you know, I'm here, I'm trying to support you, you know, what can I do to help type of thing, versus, you know, trying to, no, you shouldn't feel that way, you should be positive, you should be happy, you have so much great things going on for you. You know, I think, you know, as a society, a lot of times we try to dismiss that, but the reality is that that's their reality, and we have to, you know, kind of help them through it. The other thing is, you know, really set boundaries, because one thing that can happen is, you know, if the person is reaching out to you and they feel comfortable reaching out to you, they're going to continue to reach out, and that can actually, in a sense, kind of start to affect you. When someone's reaching out to you constantly and, you know, saying, I want to hurt myself, that can make it really difficult for you. And so it's not about, you know, saying I don't want to hear it anymore, but it's more about, you know, really saying that, you know, I don't think I'm the right person to help you, but I can help you find someone who is the right person. And so it's you're still very supportive, you're, you know, loving the person, but you're not, you know, taking on their problem, because that's something that's kind of, you're not a mental health professional, obviously, and so it's hard to take on a problem like that. You know? And so those would be some of my suggestions. So is there anything that you guys think that you wish that your parents understood better about you? That might be a good.
To be honest, I think my parents know who I am. Like, I'm a very loud person. Like, I'm just like here. And like, so I feel like my parents know who I am. Sometimes you don't agree, but like, who's not gonna agree with their parents? But like, I don't really know. Maybe like sometimes when I don't want to do chores and like make my brothers do it. So like, I don't want to have to take on all that stuff all the time and like spread it among us three equally.
Okay.
That's it.
So feeling like maybe because you are the girl in the home, maybe you're the one that gets more chores.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure Maria's gonna say the same thing.
I mean, probably the one thing that I would want you guys to understand about me is like, I do like my space, you know, kind of type thing. I like to do my own thing, and I feel like a lot of the time, like it's kind of like you guys try to like get me to go out and like sit in the living room with you and like watch TV with you, even though that's like at that moment that's not what I want to do. You know, I kind of just want to like do my own thing in my room, or like, you know, read my books or like watch videos and everything. And like, you guys take that as like, I don't want to be with you, but that's not necessarily what it is, you know.
And I think as a parent, that's one thing that's finding the balance, because, you know, one of the things that I see a lot, especially with kids who are really struggling, is that, you know, they have been in their rooms and they've kind of become, you know, a little bit more recluse and things like that. And so I think that, you know, as a parent, sometimes, you know, I want you to have your space, but it's hard to find that balance of like, okay, having your space and also, you know, being engaged and things like that. And so.
Yes, I think that's like the one difficult thing about you being a mental health professional and everything, is just because you see everything and you kind of put it under a microscope, you know. You try to like, you know, if I'm doing something, it's you see it in the eyes of like, you know, as a therapist, and it might not necessarily be that sometimes, you know. And I feel like it's hard for you to like distinguish those two things. I don't know.
Thank you for being honest about that. One of the things that, you know, I find and a lot with, you know, young adolescents is that sometimes girls place them off. And so about what I mean by that is, you know, we are, you know, a lot of times girls are told, you know, to kind of, I guess, to follow the majority, to kind of be quiet, to not be kind of their true selves. And so I wanted to bring that topic up just to kind of see what your thoughts are on that, and have you ever felt like you had to play small and then maybe regretted it later?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I feel like when you're a girl, you're kind of like expected to be like, you know, quiet and poised and just kind of like not speak out about a lot of different things. And, you know, if you do, you're being loud. It's, you know, it's not like, it's kind of just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, when you're trying to speak out about certain things, everybody just kind of goes, oh, shut up, you're a woman, you know, you're a girl, you don't know what you're talking about, that's not your place, you're not supposed to be doing that. And so I think it can be difficult because when you're trying to be your true self and you know, you just, like, that's a part of who you are, and then somebody says that, you know, it shouldn't be, it's like pretty difficult. And I feel like I'm glad that lately I feel like that has been breaking a little bit, you know, like we're like a lot of women are pushing through that and saying, you know, no, this is who I am, this is who I get to be, instead of just, you know, being quiet and, you know.
Any thoughts on that?
I'm more of an outspoken type of person, and like I just kind of like say what I say and hope no one's feelings get hurt, and if they do, sorry. But I feel like my parents like understand that because I tell them that. Like I feel like when we go, especially to church, a lot of the people there are very like old-fashioned, like they're very closed-minded, and like that's not how I work. So I'm just like there, and I feel like I have to kind of be more a closed-off type of person, especially like in like Bible study or something. That's why I don't really like going, because it's like annoying to me. But I feel like then is when I really just sit back and do that.
And you know, I love kind of both perspectives, and you know, I absolutely agree. You know, I remember just myself being an adolescent. You know, I played small, and so one of the things, especially my daughter knows now, that you know, I don't play small anymore. Like I'm really doing what I believe in, and you know, I try to inspire all women and girls, you know, to really be their true self. And so when you know, we had all of these different movements lately, you know, with like the Me Too movement and things like that. I think that women are all, you know, like, this is not okay anymore. It's not okay for us to be, you know, pushed down, to be held down, or to be, you know, to have to experience things that we don't want to experience. And so, you know, with the reality is that, you know, that you should both be your truest self. You know, we should all, as women, all be our truest self, no matter what, you know, no matter if someone else isn't okay with it, because you know, that's who we were meant to be. That's who we're purposed to be. And it's not about, you know, making anybody else feel good with who we are. You know, the only person that we have to worry about feeling good is ourselves. And so, you know, I love that both of you kind of have that, you know, that belief in you that, you know, that you have to be yourselves. And so I encourage you to never play small. Is there, I guess my other question would be, is there any stressors that come from, not only from parents, you know, we kind of heard about the parent side, but what about like peers? Like, are there stresses that come from, you know, stressors that come from other peers that you wish that you could change, or is there things that you're seeing other peers are dealing with that maybe are, you know, like a peer-to-peer relationship?
So when I was doing an assignment, my flat Stanley, I went with my friend to Panera, Isabella, and like we did it there, and we had like this talk, and she was basically saying how she like came from a private school. So like when she went to Southport this year, she like didn't know anybody because no one from her private school came, because like they have like this small class of ninth graders at the school, but like she wasn't gonna do that. So like when she first came, she was very like taken aback how everyone like was so fake, and like how everyone was just like, it didn't like necessarily like want to be her friend because like they just didn't give her a chance to be their friend. And like I didn't really see that because I just talk to people. So like it was refreshing to see that because she's not like necessarily quiet, but like she has trouble. Like, well, she doesn't have trouble, but like when she came to the school, it was like no one really like sat and talked to her. So it was just like, wow. And like she's really stressed about going back to school this year. And she's just like, I don't want to deal with people like just not giving her a chance, and she'd rather go to like her private school again because like everyone there was just so nice and happy, and like everyone at Southport is just they're so cliquey, and they're like to think like if you're not wearing the right type of clothes, like you're just like not them. Like I know like this group of girls in our grade, and they're just like they're to themselves. I don't really talk to them. Like they're just like those type of kids who are just like they like wear brands all the time, and they're just like this is this is that. I'm cool, you're not, and it's like really annoying. They're in IB too.
So that can be another stressor, having, all of the different cliques and feeling maybe like you don't fit into a clique. That can definitely be a big stressor.
Yeah, I remember, like when we were first going into high school, I was like not too worried because of course like I had you and I had a couple other people that were from my middle school that were also going into the IB program. So I figured, like I'll at least have one of them in like one of my classes or something like that. So I wasn't too worried. But there were like a couple classes where I just was kind of like by myself and like I didn't really know anybody. But you could tell that, like all the other kids, they all like knew each other already kind of type thing. And like once they established like their friend group, like literally like by the first day of school, like everybody already had their friend groups. So like, if you didn't know anybody, it would be pretty hard to kind of like make new friends and everything because everybody already decided who their friends were and they kind of like didn't want you coming into their group or something like that,
Yeah. My English class, it's like everyone there already went to middle school with each other, like literally everybody. So like the only like real friend that I have there is my friend Isabella, who I was talking about, and I had a friend named Alan. He like moved classes though.
into my class.
I know he was my only friend. He was like the only person that I knew from Indian Town. So like it was just I talked to people, like I made new friends, yeah, but they're like not my friends. They're more like when Isabella, she like broke her wrist when she was out. It was just like really like I was by myself because I didn't really want to talk to anybody because like I didn't really know them. Like they were nice to me, I was nice to them. Like we had great conversation, but it's just like not.
Yeah, it's not like the same as talking to like your real friends, It's just kind of like you're making small conversation, and then that's about it. Like as soon as you leave the classroom, like nobody nobody from that class really talks to you anymore. They don't walk with you, like they don't, anything like that. And so, my first period class as well, in one of my classes, like I literally didn't know anybody, and I was absent the like first 2 days of that semester because we had gone on like winter like vacation or whatever. And then when I came back, like everybody was already like in their groups and everything. And so like I came in and there was probably like one person that I knew from my old school, but she had already like sat with the like another table and they were all full and everything. So like I didn't really know what to do, and so I just kind of sat like at a random table or whatever. And there was like some people that I knew there, but I didn't like really like talk to them or anything, and they kind of like didn't talk to me.
There's a lot of you can keep going. I'm gonna read some of the comments that we have as we're closing down.
And so as you were saying, the kid that was in your class and then he moved to my class, that was kind of like great for me because I didn't know anybody else in that class, and like he was somebody who like I knew from my old school and was like really easy to talk to, and like so that was.
It was nice to have him while it lasted, but like I had my English class every day, so like when I first came into that class, I like saw Noah, and when he walked in, I was so happy because like I finally have someone.
That's literally like every class where like I walk in, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna know anybody, and then like somebody from my old school like walks in, I'm just like, oh, thank goodness, because you know, you just like you don't want to know yourself.
A window.
Yes, there is a bird who I think has no idea that it's a window, and he keeps like trying to, he slams into it all the time. So I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that's joining us to watch this episode. Definitely wanted to say thank you to you girls for being so honest and open about, you know, this discussion. I wanted to talk a little bit about, I think the last piece that I wanted to bring up was like social media, because I know that that's a big thing for not just adolescents, but it is a really big thing for adolescents. So one of the things that I think as a parent that you struggle with that balance is, you know, like the right age to let your kid be on social media, the amount of time you allow them to spend on, you know, their phones or their devices. So what are your thoughts as that? Like, what are things that maybe parents don't understand about social media or being on your phones and devices?
I mean, I feel like the reason it's so important to a lot of kids is because like literally everybody else is doing it. So like, you know, you go to school and a lot of people are like, oh, what's your Instagram? What's your Snap? Like that kind of type thing. And so like everybody just wants to be so connected and like put that image on, you know, like that perfect, like, you know, like persona almost. And so they want to like be able to keep that up like on, you know how they say on Instagram, like everybody's perfect, everybody looks like they're living this like perfect life. And I think that's what it is for a lot of kids. Like they like see that and they're like, I need to be that. And so that's why they want like to always be on social media, so that like other people can see that almost. And I mean, I personally feel like it's not really that healthy, you know, like to always be trying to put up that like
The perfect image.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear like the Snapchat, you know, Snapchat makes everyone look good type of thing.
Yeah, they're like always like, oh, like, you know, nobody wants to take a picture without a filter kind of type thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it shouldn't be that way. Like, you should be your true self. And
Definitely. Okay. Any thoughts on?
I gave up on Instagram. Like I posted like 3 pictures and I'm good. like it's so fake sometimes when I see it, because like it's like they're not really showing you who they are. It's just like their best moments during like different like days, and it's like not real almost. And it's like kind of everyone's kind of fooling everybody into thinking their life is the best life that there ever was. So I feel like it's not healthy to like go into Instagram and like think that this is everyone's everyday life. It's good to know that like they have their downfalls as well.
yeah, I would like much rather like just like have a conversation with somebody instead of, you know, like, you know, a lot of people like go online and they try to like see what other people are doing. Like I would rather just like go with somebody and experience that together, not you know, go and like have to see it on their like page or whatever. Like, you know,
Looking at it's boring.
Yeah,
like
like-
all you're doing is sitting at home. I'd rather like go out with a friend and just like hang out.
and like sometimes like you see like, you know, when you go to the mall and you see like the friends that are together, they're like together but they're not really, you know, they're just like trying to make themselves look good like online or whatever. They're like trying to take pictures together to like show other people like, oh look, we're out at the mall, you know, kind of type thing.
It's like
Instead
if
of-
you didn't show it on Instagram, it didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen, and that's not the way it should be. You know, like I want to be able to go with my friends somewhere and just like be in the moment and like have fun and laugh and like, you know, not have to show other people, oh look where I am, kind of thing. You know.
So kind of from both of your perspective, it's not something that's completely, you know, the healthiest for a teenager to be engaging in.
And it's not like necessary.
One of the things that I've, you know, heard a lot too is sometimes, you know, when they post a picture, and of course, you know, being a teenager, you're at this age where you're really discovering yourself and kind of figuring out who you are and who you want to be and all of those things. So there's a lot of that kind of insecurities that come along with that. And so one of the things that, you know, I find is like, you know, some girls will, you know, post pictures and it may be like a provocative picture or things like that to, you know, see how many likes or see how many comments they get. And, you know, that to me, you know, I really struggle seeing that because, you know, of course I want all women and girls to, to feel confident and good about themselves. And so when they're doing that, they're looking for their value outside of themselves. And so that might help feed them in that moment, but then, the next day they're going to need something else because it's not coming from within them. So, I love that you both believe that, it's more about being real, enjoying kind of what's going on in real life versus, the social media life. Any other thoughts that you guys think that you want to share on this topic of, what it is truly like to be, a young lady in today's world? Because I know that you guys are dealing with so much more than when I was, in your shoes, when I was going to high school. So there's so many things that I think that as adults we don't understand, and that's what this conversation is about, to help us understand, the minds and what adolescents really go through at this stage in their life. So anything else that you think that's important for parents to know?
Well, not necessarily for parents, but I feel, I'm really proud to kind of like be a woman in this day and age, just because there's so much, like, there's more opportunities now than ever, kind of, and like, there's so much more that I can achieve now than I could have, 20, 40, 60 years ago. And, like, I'm seeing all these kind of movements where women aren't taking it anymore, and I'm glad that I get to be, kind of a part of that, and I get to, like, become the same thing. Like, I get to decide what happens to me and what my future is now.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, like same thing with Maria. It's like cool because like, especially because like I'm Black in America, and like my parents are also immigrants. So like it's nice to see, and it's reassuring to see that people out actually care, and they're actually stepping up to do something about it, and not just sitting down and be like, oh wow. And like now it gives me hope. Like things are getting better, things are looking up, people are not like ignorant as much anymore. So, like there's still ignorant people out there, but like they're not
Everyone's loud as they used to be.
Yeah, and some people just kind of don't know better. Some people are kind of doing what they know, and that's all they know.
Yeah, I don't blame anyone. It's like sad to see, but like I'm happy that people are out there educating others and like saying this is how the world is working now. So either step up and join, or like get left behind in the dust.
Yeah,
For sure.
and I love that like everybody's kind of like standing up for the people who can't. Like now, before, at the very beginning, it was kind of like standing up for women's rights and standing up for that kind of thing, and now we're standing up for the whole like LGBT community, and like recently with the whole thing that's happening at the border, and like that's something that's close to my heart as well, because I am from an immigrant family that came from Mexico, so like it's really sad to see what's happening.
Absolutely. Definitely. I remember me and Maria having a conversation about that. It hurts to see like, they had children who had been, torn apart from their parents, crying and screaming and then put into cages. And it's like, how are we traumatizing these kids that, everybody thinking that they're coming over illegally, when in reality they're coming over, escaping crime-ridden areas. They're escaping, areas where, more than likely their daughters are going to be raped by the time they're 13. So they're, people are kind of judging the parents on why would they put their kids through that. It's like they love their kids that much that they're willing to do anything and everything to make sure that they have a better life. And so definitely that, that is something that, touches all of our hearts. And so I'm also honored. One of the things that I hear a lot, and I have to kind of argue it a little bit, but that a lot of people are disappointed in youth. The youth that now, and I look at that and it's like the youth now, they don't have, a lot of people will say they don't have, hard work ethic, or they don't have the, those values, and they're just lazy in a sense. And one of the things that I think I admire so much more about the youth nowadays is that you're not only willing to just, stay complacent or just stay silent. It's like, if there's something that you believe in, you will go out and do something about it. Like think about, the shooting that occurred, the Douglas shooting. You know, now the kids are, you know, there's marches
Touring.
all over the United States. They're, you know, they're fighting gun control laws. They're, you know, they're in Tallahassee, and they're
going
you
on
know,
all these live shows. Like they sung at the Emmys, I'm pretty sure they like sung with Shawn Mendes and Khalid at the MTV Music Awards. Like they're just going and like making sure they're known and like wearing like stuff that like just it's really powerful.
Absolutely, and when I see that, it's like it gives me so much hope. You know, for there was a time that, you know, everybody, you know, I don't want to get into politics, but like when, you know, the president came in, there was just so much negativity that I felt that was surrounding, and, you know, not saying that necessarily around him, but there was so much negativity that was kind of coming around. You know, there was a lot of you know, racism that was coming out. There was a lot of, you know, kind of putting down women. There was, you know, just so much things that were coming around when that, you know, when that first happened. And to see all of this, to see, you know, all of the not only the teenagers and the adolescents, but the women and everybody kind of standing up and saying no more. You know, we're no longer willing to just stay silent about these things. And so that's one of the things that I think that I admire so much about youth nowadays.
I feel like everybody thinks that we're lazy and everything, but you know, they don't see that all the stuff that we're trying to change, and when they do see that, like they see that we're standing up and that we're not accepting these things anymore, they kind of see it as like, you know, that that we shouldn't be doing that, you know, youth doesn't have a place in politics or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we do, you know, we do have the right to decide what happens with us. We are the next generation, and, you know, whether you like it or not, we're going to change those things.
They're not going to be here for long, so like they might as well be happy that we're actually taking a stand to do something and take care of what's here now. So when they're gone, we're still going to be okay. So I feel like they're taking it as like a negative side, but they should see the positive.
Absolutely, absolutely, and definitely, I think that the people who are seeing it as a negative side, maybe not completely aware of everything that you guys are doing, you know, to change. And, you know, I just want to say I admire both of you, and I admire the youth, you know, from nowadays. And so I think we do have to end because it has been the hour. So we are going to go ahead and end. And I just want to say thank you for everyone who viewed today. We appreciate you joining us for episode 2 of the Truth Behind the Pain series. And I want to say thank you to my fabulous guests. Thank you guys for being so honest and open, you know, having this open discussion that's so important for us to have, so that, you know, others can be aware of what's really going on. And, you know, we, not only with, you know, everything that's going on in the, you know, in the nation, also, you know, what people are dealing with silently, you know, with mental health and mental illness. You know, we want to open that discussion, and we want to be, you know, I thank you guys for being really open about that. And, you know, there were moments that we, you know, we all had tears in our eyes, and, you know, it's about that. It's about having that true and honest discussion. And I thank you guys for being part of that.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.